Yeah, hello folks. I'm back again with a new video. In our previous video, we have seen the complete setup for React, right? And in this tutorial, we'll be talking about the basic concepts that you need to cover in React.js. Yeah, let's get this party started. Yeah, before diving into this topic, previously we have discussed the project structure, right? And just remember this. Let's run the server once and let's see how it is. And for this we need to activate our environment, right? So dot slash env slash scripts slash activate and hit enter, then list. We need to go into my project. From there cd to friend, react app, and then say npm start to start our development server, the React development server. Yeah, click on this. If it take you much time, click on this. Yeah, here we are in our previous video, right? So this is what the page that is rendering this particular component and this animation and everything. This animation came from this styling. And if you could remove this and control s to save. Yeah, let's start from scratch, guys. Like when we are going to learn something new, we actually start from scratch, right? So in React application, when you are going to create a React application, normally we create functions in a page that is similar to name of our page. Like we have previously seen, we have a function and it is exported to default function, right? So let's start from a function. So actually we can create classes and functions. We use functions right now. So function followed by your function name. Actually we use the app name, the page name itself as the app name. So it's app, right? So app, so app, and this. Yeah, actually in functions we need to return something so that the component will be rendered on our browser. And let's say return, and after return don't forget this semicolon. And inside the return we can use some html components or javascript elements, whatever it is. Let's start from simple hello world program. Say heading 1, hello world, and control s to save. And here we go. Okay, and what happened is we have created a function, right? And after creating a function we need to export at least one function. Actually the app name itself, like the page name, we create a function, right, with page name, and that will be your default app. And you can make it any app into your default app, but usually we use this particular one as our default. And we need to export it. Export default app followed by a semicolon and control s to save. Yeah, here you go, hello world. Okay, spelling mistake, guys. And you can export this in another way also. So remove this line of code from here and say export default function followed by the function name and control s to save. If you could see, yeah, it's still working. Because you can do this in two ways, right? And say we want to render some more elements. Actually in our web page we don't use single html tag, right? We use multiple tags. So what about this one? Say heading 2 and say this is heading 2 and control S to save. And if you go to our page, then it will say no. What's wrong with this? So what's happening wrong is uh, you could not, enclose more than one HTML tags within a same return function. We need to use this JSX fragment, which will hold multiple HTML tags inside your single function, return function. Say, let me remove this to control X. And if I say, it will automatically give you the closing tag, and control V, control S. And if you could see, hello world, this is heading 2. You have rendered both the elements, right? You can give some stylings also. Say for heading 1, uh, font size, some small, so it could be heading, we can make it small, right? And say color is to aqua, some background, and control S to save, like we have made to only heading 1, right? And if you go make a refresh, okay. The reason is that you haven't imported this app.css into your app.js file, right? So you cannot see the rendering. And to import this, say import within single quotes dot slash app.css. It should be capital app, capital A, because you can see this is capital A, right? So yeah, app.css and control S. Yeah, here it is. It is small, and some aqua and color tags which were used. Okay, that's for CSS styling. You can import styling likewise. And what if we need to make connections with some pages? So we need to have some multiple pages, right? So in our source folder, remember we actually use source folder maximum in our entire project itself. So create a new folder which will hold uh, some pages. So we use pages folder, and we have previously seen we have some components, and the components could be like some buttons, some forms, some headings, and whatever that could be, right? We can make them into components and we can call them wherever we want. Actually we can also call pages even, but we call components within our pages. And so let's create another folder named components, and say let's create a component called uh, button.js, of course. Within our page, say page1.js, and follow the same. So we have button.js, page1.js, and inside our button, of course the page name itself tells you you need to create a button, right? So export default function followed by what's your uh, class name, and say button. And remember one thing, this starting word of the function name should be capital letter itself. This function name should start with capital letters, because we have HTML elements and we have function names, right? And we call functions within another function which is a component level. We'll see them right now. So to make differentiate with HTML component tags and with JavaScript tags, they should be with starting with capital letters only. So make sure you start a function with capital letters. And we have button, say click me, and control S. Where should we render this? So we need to render this in app.js itself. Like currently we are using app.js as our main file, and we need to import this one and also create a function for page one. Let's say, yeah, export default function followed by our function name which is page one. page one, and followed by we return something and return, sorry, yeah, and semicolon, and here, and we return some elements, say heading, and yeah, this is page one, heading one, say this is page one, and control S to save, and we have page one and button.js, right? Now let's import them into app.js and call them within our app.js. Okay, so we treat them as components and we are calling them from app.js, right? So importing these components is very easy actually. So import, and what's this one? This is button, right? So import button, and it will automatically take you the path, and you need to import this button, I mean the function name. Okay, if you type this function name, it will import automatically the required path also. And say if you say import page one, right? So it's P, capital P, so it automatically imported. Now let's see how you can render these two imported elements into your this page. Say we actually don't use any functions call and stuff, we just use them within our HTML tags itself. Say within our tags, say button, and close the tag. That's it, you have called the button right now, this button. This is now actually inside this app.js, and you can see this white line has gone because we used it. If you could see, this is declared but the value is never read. And let me read this. So for this we can say page one, here it is, page one, and just close the tag and say control S, and if you could see this, this is page one. So this is a heading one, right? Yeah, this is heading one, right? So it is using this HTML, CSS styling and everything. If it is inside the app.js, and let's see if we can see the similar styling in page one itself. Yeah, that's what we can see with importing components and rendering them in our app.js file. And now we need to know one thing, which is routing. So actually we use ahref is equals to the following link, right? Which will render you the pages accordingly. But actually, in react.js, you cannot use it directly, because if you want to use ahref is equals to on that following tag, you may need to use some APIs related to HTML5, which is something complex. So we have browser router function, so which came from React Router DOM module. It's a part of React.js. So for routing we use React Router DOM. We need to import it. First importing, before importing we need to install it. So head to your terminal and say just close this development server, and y to close, and say npm install React Router and DOM, and hit enter. It will download the required React Router DOM for your routing, not routing, I'm saying routing, I mean going into another page likewise. So it could take you some time, no worries. Yeah, it's now installed. Of course it will be there, no worries, we can fix them later if necessary.
If you think our content is worthy, please like the video and consider subscribing to the channel.
Yeah, one thing we need to explore more is this index.js file also. So if you could see, we are using strict mode. Okay, and if you could see, we have discussed like index.js is the entry point of your entire React application, where it contains your app. Even this app is inside index.js file itself. ID is root, okay, which is previously seen in our public index.html file also. And Yeah, id equals to root, and we have discussed if you change this you are going to face problems in your entire project maybe. So and we are getting this from document itself, document object model, and we are rendering this app, whatever is there inside your app, we are rendering this in your index.js file, and we are going to use this strict mode. So why do we use strict mode? Like, we have something to know. The importance of strict mode: it identifies unsafe life cycles and warns you about legacy string referrals, and it also warns you about deprecated find domain name usage. Like, it flags using find domain node method if there are any deprecated usages, and checks for unexpected side effects during running your servers or whatever that could be. So yeah, it also detects legacy context API. So when there is something wrong with APIs, it will tell you. So it is suggested to use strict mode, and not suggestion, it actually we use strict mode itself. And yeah, that's it about index.js. Like, we need to know that point in this topic right now. So we have app.css button, and yeah, we are in routing, right? I mean, navigation. So we have installed React Router DOM, and let me tell you one thing. Actually, you can have any number of functions along with your default function within your page. Say, let me create another function, and let it say function 2, function 2 maybe, or else example for routing. So function followed by a function name. Uh, Make sure it's capital. Example for routing, and followed by our browsers, and yeah, we need to return, right? Sorry, it's this brackets, and don't forget semicolon right here, and then yeah, right here, let's say this is for routing, and control s, like we have called this right here, right? So right now, yeah, this is for routing, it's working. Now we need to make some changes in our default function app so that we can include routing. We create a home function, and we call this example for routing inside the home function. And yeah, let's see some modifications. Yeah, these are the changes we have made, and let me tell you. So we have React Router DOM installed, right? And from React Router DOM we are importing browser router, route, routes, and also link, which will help you in routing. So within our function, which is default function app, we are returning browser router, and inside this, see, this is completely navigation, which is an unordered list with some list of links, which is for home and button and for page. And we have routes, right? And like inside the routes, we have route for each separate page, which consists of path and the element that it is going to render. And say we have home function, inside this we have three things, which is hello world, this is heading to, which is heading, and we are calling example for routing inside this one itself. Say this is for routing. And yeah, let's discuss browser router and routes, and route and link, which were included right here in detail. Browser router is the core component that enables client side routing. It actually listens to changes in the browser's address bar, and when URL changes, browser router intercepts the navigation and prevents a full page reload. Instead, it re-renders this appropriate component for the new URL. This routes is a container for a list of route elements. This list of route elements, which is responsible for rendering the first route that matches the current URL, which means that say routes look at this current URL. It tries to match it with one of the route components, and when match is found, it renders the component specified in the matching route. I mean this particular component, whatever it is matched. This route is used to define mapping between URL and the component. It tells routes which component to render for a specific path. And we have this link, right? Yeah, link to. So actually 2 is a prop that specifies the path to be navigated. In this case, this is slash button is the path and slash is the path right here. So when link is clicked, it updates the browser's address bar and notifies BrowserRouter about this particular URL change, and the BrowserRouter re-renders the appropriate component based on this particular new URL. So previously that could be a button, but right now it could be home, right? Due to changes in URL, and that's how everything work. Let's see the working of this particular code, and yeah, control S to save. And if I say, yeah, this is what our app.js file is with three navigations, which is another list. Inside this, it is a list, right? So home, which is this particular current one, because see if you could see inside home we have hello world. This is heading, an example for routing, right? Yeah, this is hello world. This is heading example for routing, but this came along with app.js file. You cannot remove it right now within your home page. So when you click on home, it will be home itself. When you click on button, it goes to click me. So by this you can understand app.js is actually handling this entire code changes. So if you don't want to include app.js, you need to create some separate file and include this particular in separate file. So that could be the easy way, so that we will not see this particular rendering. So if you click button, if you click say page 1, we are actually in page 1, and button we are at, and for button we are at button. Home, this is route. When there is nothing, it represents this particular slash, right? Home. Yeah, that's it for today's video, guys. If you like the content, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.